Guys, Emile Smith-Rowe could be gone by the end of the transfer window, and I'm here to tell you why that shouldn't be a surprise. Let's go. There have been links banded around the place saying that Emile Smith-Rowe could be on the way out of Arsenal Football Club. But you see, the thing is, it shouldn't be a surprise. We've caught feelings, guys. We have. And I think we do this quite often. There is something I call a end halo around players that come through the academy. Players that we want to do well because we have an affinity to them as more than players, as people. We feel like they're one of us, and so letting them go is tough. But sometimes to reach that level and to excel, you really have to see things in a different lens. I've put this picture here because Arteta talks about passion and clarity and that being at Arsenal, and sometimes when we look at players that have come through the academy, we think with our passion and our hearts more than we do with our minds. We think with love more than we do with clarity, but hopefully through this video I can help to switch that lens, make it one of clarity, so we can actually see, should Arsenal sell Emile Smith-Rowe, and if they do, why it shouldn't be a surprise. Now, when thinking about when a player should be sold, if a player should be sold, there's a few things to consider, and that is what I believe Edu and the team will be going through. The first is, what position do they play in, and do we have enough cover? The second is the market conditions. Can we get what we value for the player? And the third is, will the sale be beneficial in the long run? Things like finances. Do we need the money? Things like the buying club. Are they going to be a rival? Are they going to help us or hinder us when competing for, the major honors? And the third is the team dynamics. How will this sale, how will it affect the team dynamics? Will it be positive? Will it be negative? Now, first, let's talk about cover. And I believe Arsenal have cover. We have cover. See, Emile Smith-Rowe can play in multiple positions along the front line. But in Trossard, in Fabio Vieira, in Gabriel Jesus, we have cover along that front line. Whether it be left wing, right wing, the left half space, the right half space. But we've signed another player who makes that position even more saturated. And that's Kai Havertz. The Kai Havertz signing could be the main reason why Emile Smith-Rowe leaving is written in the stars. But do we have cover? I think the answer is a resounding yes. A resounding yes. Are those cover going to provide the same quality that Emile Smith-Rowe can provide? It's hard to argue that they won't. Emile Smith-Rowe's got great potential. We've seen it at the Euros. His relationship and his understanding of link-up play is elite. When playing alongside players like Morgan Gibbs-White, Emile Smith-Rowe showed time and time again that he's at the level required to make a difference. But we have Trossard in there. We have Fabio Vieira in there. Players who can also make a difference. Players who can link up exceptionally well. When we talk about profiles, when we talk about the type of player Emile Smith-Rowe is, running with the ball, being able to dribble, Vieira and Trossard can do those things. And it's rather unfortunate that Emile Smith-Rowe is in a position now where we are stuck between a rock and a hard place. He wants to fight for his way into the team, but the position is very, very saturated. The competition is very high. And if he leaves, that should not be a surprise. So, do we have cover? Yes. The next is, can we get our valuation for Emile Smith-Rowe? Now, according to Transfer Market, Emile Smith-Rowe is worth around 35 million euros. When we look at players in Emile Smith-Rowe's position, we have Mason Mount in there, who went for around 60 million euros to Man United. Szoboszlai went for 70 to Liverpool, and Maddison went for 46 to Tottenham. Is Emile Smith-Rowe worth less than those names? He hasn't started as much in the Premier League. Hasn't really had the capacity to show what he's worth last year. But the Euros was the tip of the iceberg into the player that Emile Smith-Rowe can become. the star that Emile Smith-Rowe can develop into, the effect that he can have on teams. Is he worth less than those three names I've just mentioned? So when it comes to the question of can we get our valuation for Emile Smith-Rowe, the answer is a maybe. Because how high do you value Emile Smith-Rowe? A player at 23 years old with 3 more years left on his contract. A player whose ceiling is higher than some of those names I've just mentioned. How much is he worth? And how much are players, are clubs, buying clubs going to be willing to put the transfer fee down for Emile Smith-Rowe? It's a big maybe. But if that bid comes in, 50s, 60s, can we really say no? The third question is, will the sale be beneficial in the long run? The pros are that the team will be more streamlined. The pros are that the player could go on to flourish. And if he does so, a sell-on clause, which then means that the player can give us back some of that value. Now, selling Emile Smith-Rowe could be a positive for his career to a team without as much competition as there is at Arsenal, especially in his positions, could see him go on to the next level. And if he does that, his value could skyrocket. We're talking more than we've seen Mason Mount go for. We're talking more than we've seen Szoboszlai go for. And if that's the case, does he then in the long run make Arsenal more money than he would being sat on the bench, not getting the game time? It's one worth arguing. Another pro is added revenue. To get the revenue up. Our revenue from sales has not been great. And Emile Smith-Rowe's departure could take Arsenal that another level when it comes to getting income from revenue streams. And another pro is a reduction in the wage bill. Emile Smith-Rowe is nowhere near one of the top earners. He's not even in the top 50%, I'd say, when it comes to the first team. I mean, when we look at the wage bill at Arsenal, it's actually staggering to see that Kai Havertz is the top earner currently at £280,000. Emile Smith-Rowe is way down below Jorginho, below Reece Nelson, below Trossard, below El Neni, below Tomiyasu. He comes in at £40,000 a week. £40,000 a week. Now that wage bill is nothing compared to the other players in the team. It's absolutely nothing. So when we talk about reduction in the wage bill, it's minuscule. Over the course of a year, that amounts to £2 million. I mean, that's pretty much nothing. So in terms of pros, of course, it reduces the wage bill, but not by much. And we don't actually need to sell when it comes to the wage structure. Most of the money from the Emile Smith-Rowe deal, if we make a profit, will be coming from the transfer fee and any sell-on clauses at a future date. So in the long run, it could be beneficial in terms of sell-on clauses, him getting the game time and him progressing as a player. In terms of cons, if he goes to a rival team, that is a big no-no. That is a big no-no. Arsenal are now chasing, are fighting and are going to be in contention for Premier League titles. We can't be strengthening our rivals. We just can't. I've put losing the homegrown talent in question marks because, of course, Emile Smith-Rowe is a homegrown talent. Now, we don't need him to fulfill our homegrown quota. We don't. We've got enough players who can do that. If we look at the homegrown list or the list of first team players in Wikipedia, we see that Ramsdale's homegrown, Raya's homegrown, Ben White and Saliba are homegrown. Rob Holding is homegrown, but he may be leaving. We have Emile Smith-Rowe, of course. We have Declan Rice, who's now homegrown, who's now joined the team. He's homegrown. We got Saka, we got Martinelli, we got Eddie Nketiah, we got Reece Nelson. We need 8 homegrown players, and we can fulfill that without Emile Smith-Rowe. So if we look at this clearly, without a bias towards him being, one of us, we look at the team structure. Will this sale be beneficial in the long run? I think more often than not. I've put a maybe because if he stays, he could then go on to be a mainstay in that first team squad. He could do. If he goes and he goes to a rival, that could impact Arsenal. So that is another con. But if he goes to a team that's not a rival, if we manage to get some transfer fees for him, we put a sell-on clause in that sale, in the long run, it could possibly be a positive thing for the Gunners and for Arsenal. So, the final verdict. Should Arsenal sell Emile Smith-Rowe? And I think they should consider it. If a bid comes in that is above the valuation that they think the player's worth, we're talking 40s, we're talking 50s. If we get a bid at that level or above, we'd be silly not to consider it. And the next is, if that bid is from a non-rival club, we'd be silly not to consider it. So, should Arsenal sell Emile Smith-Rowe? It's a complicated one. But I think if it happens, we shouldn't be surprised. We have the cover for him. If we get a valuation for him, and in terms of the dynamics, how it streamlines the squad, how it improves our financial outlook, it could be a prudent sale for a player who I love and we love, but due to circumstances may not get the opportunity that he needs to flourish. Arsenal may sell Emile Smith-Rowe before the end of the transfer deadline, and it shouldn't be a surprise. Thank you for watching. This has been Understanding the Process. My name has been Prince. I'll catch you in the next video. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe.